Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our session today. My name is Chappy Floyd, and I'll go ahead and share my desktop, and we'll go ahead and get the session started. So at this point, you should be able to see my desktop. Again, my name is Chappy Floyd. I am the Vice President of Discovery Innovations with EBSCO. And today's topic is going to be uncovering actionable information for your business. I created this agenda to kind of highlight some of the things we'll discuss in the hour that we have together, including a demonstration and time for questions at the end. Our goal was to really tackle three topics in regards to, first and foremost, why it's time to reimagine information discovery for your business and support the research needs of all employees. This is kind of important because traditionally we see a lot of cross matrices within corporations where one group has access to resources that maybe a different group does not have access to. And it makes it kind of difficult to complete the tasks that are needed. Typically we'll have a model where there's unstructured finding of information. That will be, say, a Google or Google Scholar as a resource that people use to conduct their search. And then they're going to the Knowledge Center simply in response to getting to some full text that they found. So we want to talk to that and see how we can make this more actionable so that they have not only the access that they need, but they're getting the results that are structured based off of your corporation. There's also this request for search assistance. Maybe there's a project that's coming up and the Knowledge Center needs to somehow contribute to that project. Typically, this request back and forth goes through maybe an email. This isn't going to be necessarily the best way, as well as it doesn't accommodate for others that might come into the project later. So how do you make it actionable so this information and this activity can be shared by others and collaborated on? Also, there's the situation where researchers become very fixated on a small set of resources that they've used typically. In today's example, I'm going to use PubMed as one of the resources that are very popular with my medical researchers, but there's a list of other resources like GeoRef or all types of tools that address a specific need, or they've become very common to previous searches, but might not be the best thing to discover what else is out there. So we'll talk to that environment first, mainly because we've got to get to the second bullet point on how not all information is created equal. There's a real difference when you're looking at findability and discoverability. So we want to make sure that we define that, and that's what's going to really fuel and enable this concept of actionable items from your searches. The ability to uncover information and to have these nice components like proactive delivery of that information to serve those requesters. Cloud-based resources, so that now people can access the information as needed or come into a project and instantly get up to speed with what's going on. Extensibility. This is the idea that this research tool can be part of your current workflow. So if you use a particular interface today or a tool like, say, Salesforce.com as your CRM or things of that nature, you want to be able to embed this capability into your current workflow so that everyone has access to it. And then lastly, we'll talk about branded correspondence and reports, the ability to take this information and then disseminate it so that people not only receive the information today, but they have a very usable tool to access that stuff and to store it for when it's needed later. It might be a while before they actually need to search that information. So we want to give you those empowering tools. But before we get started, let me take a step back for a moment and really make sure that we are all on the same page as to a web-scale discovery service. This is a report that was done by Outcell in August of 2014, where they evaluated this web-scale discovery service, which is this capability to conduct your searches in a way that's going to move beyond just finding results based off of words, and really giving you structure so that you're able to reduce the complexity and then covering those actionable insights of the research that you're searching across. This is a very important concept. If you go back with me about 5 years, there was a prevailing idea of something called a federated search. And the promise of a federated search was you would be able to conduct your search in a single user interface, and it would search your, say, top 20 resources, and it would pull back results from those top 20 resources. The problem with that concept is that the lowest common denominator impacted your entire search. So, for instance, if one of your resources were down that day, you wouldn't get any of your results, or it would take a long period of time, things of that nature. So this concept of a federated search has now evolved to what we're talking about today as a web-scale discovery tool. And as published in this Outcell report, we see that the focus has really shifted from just finding results based on matching words to delivering results based on context. What a web-scale discovery platform also brings to the table is the ability to integrate your valuable enterprise content as well with these results. But to make all this work, there are a few required key features which are unique to this platform. Things like relevancy ranking, speedy results, content suggestions, these weren't capable in that previous federated search mentality. So before we get started, let me show you just a quick example of what a web-scale discovery tool platform really looks like. A couple of highlights. It's going to be something that's brandable. That's important so that you can win the mind share of your users. You might need to add specifics to your users that are different than someone else. And if your goal is to make it actionable, so they're using the tool, they're coming to the tool on a daily basis, your needs may vary from someone else's. And I'll show you a couple of examples of that. It also gives you the ability to brand it and to put in things like pop-up windows and other features and functionalities, again, that speak to your audience. As you would expect, it does have a very simple interface that's very Google-esque. I can simply put in the search term here. But you also have the ability to do an advanced search. So for your more powerful users, they're going to get value out of this as well. If I just put in a basic search here, I'll put in something that I've been keeping an eye on lately is stroke and heavy drinking. There is an article that was reported a few weeks ago, you might have seen it in the news, where it talked about the effects of stroke and heavy drinking. So I've been using this recently as my search term. So within this web-scale discovery tool, it's also important to notice that with your results, you're also going to have this ability to have this faceted capability to the side. What the faceted capability means is that you now have context from your results. So as I'm doing this search and I get 389 results, in addition to the number of results down the center, I have these browsable facets to the left. This lets me know that I have so many articles, so many news reports, so many books that make up this 389. I have the ability to see what are the top subjects that will return from these results. This is that high-quality metadata that we're going to be talking about as we go through the presentation. Lastly, I have the ability to have some actionable items happen based off of these results. In certain cases, I can have certain links appear based off of my ability to get to the full text as it's been structured by my organization. So these are just some of the examples of what are needed according to Outcell when you're dealing with a web-scale discovery tool. We'll go back to the presentation. So let's consider for a moment something that's very popular today, an interface like Google. Patrons like the idea that they're able to search across multiple sources of information so they can broaden their results. I put in a search for climate change, I get 24 million results. However, there are shortcomings as defined by that Outcell report regarding ranking, the number of results, no content suggestions, there's no faceted display and browse options. There's no integration at all or added value of things like my enterprise tools, my catalog, any subject indexes that I have purchased. So all of this is lost in these types of interfaces. The problem with this original search model is a corporation doesn't really have a way to structure those results based off of purchases that they've made, subscriptions that they offer, or content that's really valued or vetted within an organization. Typically, it's after a search via a resource like Google that the library is relegated to the place where you went to get your hands on the thing you had already found out about elsewhere. With the Discovery Service, we have the ability to actually define the way these results are going to be presented to your users. That gives you the actionable structure. So let me give you an example. It's very easy to do a search just blindly off the word. We call that findability. So I could search on climate change. What's very difficult is to know whether that word has its relevance based off of the subject matter of the article, the abstract of the article, full text, etc. It's even more difficult to say, while I search for the word climate change, it's actually global warming or some other term like greenhouse effect that I'm interested in. That's the importance of having the contribution of high-quality metadata. This wasn't available via Federated Search, but on the web-scale discovery tool, we accomplished this by receiving layers of pre-harvested and indexed metadata from multiple sources, so that when I put in my search into this large ocean of information, I get back results that are then ranked by relevancy and give me real insight to the actual term that I'm searching, not just the words. So in a web-scale discovery tool, it goes beyond just that findability. Consider that same vast ocean of results we receive from a platform like Google. I think it had 24 million results. But now you're empowered with the tools you need to raise the visibility of your resources and rank those results by relevance. So that same search using this tool gives me this great review of subscriptions that enable the broadest results. I even have the ability to search to the full text of most articles. This is even if I don't subscribe to those articles, I get the ability to search down to the full text level. These results are going to be ranked by the relevancy using that high quality metadata, and it provides me with context by offering this faceted browsing that I showed you earlier with things like subject, publisher, source type, geography, language, etc. It helps guide me in the direction that I need to go. And for the ones that you actually subscribe to, or if you want to now limit your scope just to those resources that are part of your collection, you can do that with just a touch of one button. Sometimes, though, even that's not enough. Either you don't have a subscription today, or maybe you had a subscription in the past to a journal or article, but because of budgetary reasons, you've dropped that subscription. Well, as I mentioned before, this indexes articles beyond just your subscription if you want. So whatever your situation is, it's important to remember that a discovery service is the indexing beyond just your actual subscriptions. You can conduct a search and then pull back the results based off of its relevancy, not your subscriptions. And then, if you have a subscription, a link is presented. If you don't have a subscription, then you would still have the ability to request that particular article. The key here is you didn't miss discovering that result due to not having a subscription, or a user did not know which resource to choose. So now let's look at the payback. Because all of these capabilities are really coming together in a unified search box, everyone's putting in one search in one box and pulling back results from multiple sources, a web-scale discovery service can really give you a platform that can identify your resources, you can show those resources, and you can even track the adoption and acceptance of those resources in usage reports. Again, this is a component you miss out on when people are searching a lot of different interfaces. But by having everything in one interface, all of this can come together and really show the return on investment that you've made. So at the end of the day, what this really gives you the ability to do is identify if your collection is being used, which titles are being used most, which titles are being used least, and give you all the information in between to make actionable decisions on what is cost effective for your network. So let's take a look at this in actual practice. I'm going to take you to a different profile this time. Instead of the one that I showed you to begin with, I want to take you to one that's a little bit more customized. So one of the things that I mentioned earlier is that with this product, you have the ability to search from multiple sources. So it's important to realize the difference that the metadata makes. I showed you the search earlier of something like stroke and heavy drinking. If I take this search and I put it into my discovery tool, as you would imagine, I get a nice set of results, in this case 475. Earlier, I used one of the resources of PubMed as an example. If I do that exact same search in PubMed, I get the 97 results that are indexed by that particular entity. Well, here's the good news. Those results are also found in Discovery Service. So it can be very actionable to say, if you start your search in this one user interface, you'll have not only the 97 results you would have gotten from PubMed, but the additional results that are provided by other sources that we subscribe to, that you index, that, however you structured your particular library. So as an example here, if I take my 475 results that I have from Discovery Service and I limit them simply to the ones that are in Medline, what you'll see here is that I have the exact same results, prevalence of taking actions, heavy drinking, and alcohol consumption, I have the exact same results as in PubMed. That's important because if I know going into this that I'm not missing content by using this unified interface, then it makes it very easy for me to go to the next stage, which is setting up particular actionable items. Out of curiosity, if I were to do that same search in something like a Google Scholar, you notice that I lose a large percentage of the capability. First off, I have a whole lot of results with zero way of narrowing them down, 10,400. I don't have that important faceted browsing, so I have no context. I don't know which results are based off of relevancy, which results simply have the words, where those words show up. Again, all of this capability I have within the Discovery Service. But in order to make this actionable, one of the things that you really need to have is a cloud computing solution, a way that you can take these results and put it someplace that others can access. So within this platform, we have our My EBSCO host folders. So I can log into this folder, and I can do a lot of great things for making my results actionable. One of the things I can do is create a saved search. And you can create saved searches a couple of different ways. One way you can do a saved search is actually on the front page. So if you have a group of users that are topic-based researchers, they're not traditionally going to come in and type in words to do a search. They're really concerned with certain items, and every once in a while they just need to make sure they have the latest and greatest information. You can create a saved search right here on the product. So for this case, I can take this spinal cord stimulation search, and I can simply click on the tab here at the very front page. Behind that tab is a very complex search that's been created by my Knowledge Center based off of whatever parameters we've defined. Now I have a very easy way to conduct that search without me knowing a thing about conducting research. And you can have as many of these tabs as you want. But now that I've conducted this search, I've decided that, wow, this is a great search for me. I do want to be able to reuse this search often. I have a couple of options here that I can use the My EBSCO host folders for. I can take specific results, and I can actually save them to my folder. So this way, I can take this article with me. But the other thing that I have the ability to do is to take this entire search and save it to my EBSCO host folder. Any of these searches you can easily take and create an RSS feed for. Simply take the search and create your alert. So here I'm going to call this spinal. And I'm going to take this saved search and I'm going to add it to my folder. So now this becomes part of my cloud entity. And anytime I come in, I can look at my saved searches and I'll actually see the spinal search. So that can be important for a couple of different uses. One of the other things to keep in mind is these folders can either be individual, project, division, or corporate-wide. So you can easily take this concept and make it something that others could access so that as you're adding content or material to it, it can easily be collaborated on or shared by others. So that's an example of a saved search, but it gets even better. Another capability that I have is to make notations off of some of the information that's come back in my result list. So for instance, if I look at, say, this, I want this result right here. If I go into this result and I find something of interest that I want to share with others or want to make it kind of a highlight from this particular article, I have the ability to create a note. And this note can be a way to incite action from a different person in the group. Maybe I have a particular person that needs to review this from a medical perspective, where I have a different person who has to look at it from a legal perspective. I can simply go into the note and I can say, take a look at this. What this allows my folder to do now is to highlight this specific result. By going back to the folder, I now have in my notes section that particular article that I just created. By simply hitting the View Context, you can see that article in its entirety, as well as the note that I had applied to it. So now I've created a way that not only am I conducting very relevant searches and getting very relevant results based off of my subscriptions and my vetted content, but I'm now able to take actionable items from those results and even highlight them based off of specific needs. So that works a lot if we're dealing with either one user or maybe a particular project or group. But what if you're, say, the librarian or the knowledge manager, and you're responding to requests? This can really be powerful because in lots of cases, there may be the need at some other time to collaborate those previous resources and responses with new people that join the group. One of the things you're able to do is to not only save this information to your EBSCO host folder, you can create additional folders by content or context, and you can even share those folders with others. So as an example, I'm going to go into my oil and energy folder, and in this folder, I currently have 7 articles that I've saved. In another browser, I'm going to pull up another ID that I have where I've shared that particular folder. So this would be the idea if you have multiple people or multiple groups, or say you have a librarian that's responding to requests for information from someone else. And this particular profile, if I look at my folders, we'll see where I have that shared folder of energy, and I have those same 7 articles. What this gives me the ability to do, however, is to now add content as the librarian or the knowledge manager, and have that content automatically shared with the recipients or the shared folders that I have. So if I go back to my main screen, and this time I'm going to go to my result list, and it doesn't matter what result I pick here, even though this one isn't going to be oil and energy specific, it will still work for the demonstration. I'll just go back to my result list, and I will grab a search here, and I'm going to put this into my oil and energy folder. Again, this particular result has nothing to do with oil and energy, but by adding it to the folder, we'll now see that my number has gone from 7 to 8. Oil and energy, I now have 8 articles. And if I go to that other interface, and I now look at that shared folder, we now see I have 8 articles, one of which has absolutely nothing to do with oil or energy. So the concept here is you can make it very easy, instead of using emails back and forth that are unstructured and it's difficult to illustrate the thought process or have the additional notes that contribute to the body of work. Now all of this can be done in a cloud-based mentality that people can access, collaborate on, and you can easily share folders as other people come into the group. Now that I'm in this particular profile, I do want to continue the demonstration now from my energy profile as opposed to my medical profile. This is kind of important to also realize that within a corporation, you have many different types of researchers. Your HR department might have different actionable items than your marketing department. but they all have the same need for access to information. Don't see this as a way that people are going to be forced to have access to stuff that's not part of their job responsibility or their industry. You can easily make additional profiles so that it will be specified to this particular user's group as opposed to them being inundated with information from outside of their group. So as an example there, I'm going to log into this folder, but this time I'm going to log into it using the same ID and password that I had previously. A good example of this is we have corporate customers that will use projects that are defined to certain resources. A user, say an engineer, might have access to certain resources for one project, but they do not have those same resources for other projects. That's where these different profiles can allow that user to maintain an ID password in this cloud-based computing, and as they go into different profiles, now I'm in the energy profile, I have access to different resources. You can absolutely do that. The reason why I wanted to show you this here is because in my oil and energy profile, I have one of those saved searches that I mentioned earlier. I'm going to pull this up. This particular saved search is going for the top oil companies. So the idea here is I wanted to create a specific search just on the top oil companies globally. I can now take that search and I can reuse it. I can add to that search other items that I now need to search on. So even though my saved search is just the companies in general, maybe I want to do a search for these companies and say their CO2 emissions. All I'm having to do is add the CO2 emissions piece. I already have the main portion of my information saved as a saved search. This can be very useful when you're trying to take pieces of information that you use consistently, but update it with other pieces of information that are more specific. So now I have a search that's been conducted based off of CO2 emissions for the largest oil companies, and I very quickly created what I needed. Now, I have a couple of options for what I can do with these results. I've already showed you how I can save it to a folder, I can save the articles. Another thing that I can do is I can have a proactive session using something like an email or RSS feeds. So as an example here, if I go to my share button, I have the ability to create an alert, either an email alert or an RSS feed. For me personally, email alerts don't work very well for me as a common user. They would work great if my main job was to keep an eye on these various events, but lots of times I already get more than enough email. So I like an RSS feed. Now that I've created my search with the top oil companies and specific term that I want to search across, CO2 emissions, all I have to do is click on this RSS feed link. And on my particular computer, it's going to first attempt to hijack it in Safari, which would work fine, but I actually have an RSS reader that I want to use. So I'm going to tell it no there, and then it pulls up my RSS reader. Now right now you'll see my RSS reader has no information in it. But by simply clicking on subscribe, I now have my Saudi Arabian oil companies search added. And now if I go back to my RSS reader, you can see how it is now going to automatically populate any new results based off of that search term. So when I read one, I simply click on it, and I can go directly to that result. So this is a great way to get actionable information where now it's proactive and I don't even have to conduct a search day to day. This search could have been given to me by the knowledge manager who created the search. They simply sent me the RSS feed, or it's something that I could do myself using the tools that's been enabled for me by my knowledge management system, combining certain searches that they've done with certain key terms that I need. So these are all examples of how a platform like a web-scale discovery tool, because of its high indexing and its great relevancy of results and its broad coverage of so much information, can really be an actionable platform to get work done, all the while showing visibility based off of your individual subscriptions. From here, I want to take you to two last pieces. I mentioned earlier how this capability, everything that I've shown you, can be searched either in our platform or can be integrated into other platforms. This is the extensibility capability that we have. So whether you're dealing with SharePoint or you have a CRM tool, say Salesforce, or an order entry tool, you have the ability to take the aspects of this great metadata and pull it directly into that platform. The last thing that we have the ability to do, which I really love, and this is the first time we're presenting this in this format, is the ability to create a newsletter. The concept here is unlike the RSS feed, which will come to me and I can actively click on it. The idea that maybe we want to brand something that's important, not because someone has asked for it or looked for it, but it's just part of our company message, or it's something that's important to us today. I want to get it out in a format that's brandable, that someone can store or archive, but also when they do find a need for that information, those links are still persistent and it gives them access to the information that they need. To present this to you today, I have Nancy Dow from our Library Rare group. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass over the presentation to her so that she can show you for the first time this powerful tool and how easy it is to take results that you've found in Discovery Service and pull them over. Nancy, I'll go ahead and pass it over to you now. And you might have to, there we go, perfect.
Oh, perfect. Okay, and let me just bring this up. So, and can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay. Chappy, do I need to say something to make it my screen? Do I need to push a button?
I'm sorry, click on the Quick Start tab and then share my desktop.
How's that?
Excellent. Perfect.
Perfect. Okay. So what Chappy was just saying was that all the folders that you could make, and now we have a way that you can save that information from the folders and create branded newsletters. And the idea behind that is you would simply have a tool called Library Aware. And the idea with this is that you can either send emails to individuals, or you could actually group together. So if you had a team of people that you were sending a branded email to, you could just simply add those people and put them towards a group. And then all you'd have to do is just simply go into create an email. And you open it up. And the beauty of Library Aware is that the branding for your company is already established ahead of time, so that's what we would work with you to make sure that your company has proper branding. The title piece, you could put something as simple as the latest article, and then all you do is simply go into Add New, go under Multiple Records, and remember those folders that Chappy was talking about? Well, now you sign in with your username, and you can put the name of the folder that you were looking at. And now you can either pick, do you want your abstract with title and author, or do you want to add the publication information, or do you just simply want the title, author, and publication? So I'll just show you what it looks like to bring in the full abstract and titles. And as you can see, the abstract comes in with the title in place and the author, and these are all persistent links. You can edit these if you choose to. You can make this put it into wording that works for you, or you can highlight that this is the article that that you guys had discussed. You can also add other links if you wanted to by just highlighting and say you wanted to add the link to a website. You could easily do that. And then all you do is just save this email. And once it's saved, you simply take it and you schedule your email out. And as I said before, you could either have your groups, which might be your departments or teams, and in that case, they would just be a drop down here. Or you could put individual emails and send it on its way. And you would simply just send, and the email goes out. And then the beauty of this is that for your your reports, we will track that email history so that you can see who in the group opened the emails, who clicked on it, how many clicks, and if it bounced or for some reason they didn't get it, you can also indicate that. And all individual link clicks are measured here. Questions?
Thank you very much, Nancy.
Okay.
Rachel, at this point, we would like to go ahead and open it up for questions. And are you able to open it up, Rachel, or
yes.
do I have to do something on my end?
You
so
can
Chappy,
submit, oh, sorry. You can submit your questions to the Q&A box or the chat box.
Oh, perfect. So we'll look for questions in the Q&A box.
Correct.
Or the chat box. So at this point, if anyone has any questions for either Nancy or myself regarding the actionable item capability within our platform, we will entertain those questions now. And I am looking here. And I believe that there's one. Yes, there's one. Is LibraryWare rolled into EDS as a subscriber? So the question is, do you get the LibraryWare newsletter component as part of an EDS package? It is a separate component. So what you would definitely want to do is talk to your EBSCO representative about that component for your particular need. We've just rolled out this product. In fact, this is the first time we've shown it in a presentation. So this is high off the presses. You're the first people to see this with the exception of a few customers that we took it to get feedback on. Thank you for your question there. Any other questions? So again, just to reiterate, what we've shown today is how a web-scale platform like EBSCO's Discovery Service gives you capability to really for the first time push research down to all of your users while still following some form of structure that is defined by your holdings, your subscriptions, your knowledge management center, giving you the ability to collaborate for research, as well as a cloud-based solution to save any of the results that you have, as well as the ability to kind of include your topic-based researchers using things like save searches, and then pushing all that to a report that can easily be created and pushed out to your users using the LibraryWare newsletter tool. So just looking to see if there are any additional questions.
Chappy, I'm not sure if you can see this one or not, but there is a question. Where does a knowledge manager access the LibraryWare admin?
Yes. So LibraryWare, well, in fact, I'll let you answer that, Nancy.
Okay, so LibraryWare would be a separate interface. You can just open that up to libraryware.org, sign in, and then you can enter in your folder name, and it will pull in that way.
Right.
Did that,
so
did that answer the question?
Yep. So it is a separate interface. It is connected via that cloud-based service of the MyEBSCO host folder, but from an admin perspective, they are two separate products, two separate entities. And that definitely gets down as though it answered the question from here.
Great, and Chappy, I'll go ahead and read another one from John. Could we add an email notification so someone can know if something has been added to a shared folder? Or is that already an option in admin?
Yep, so that's a great question. So I showed you how you can share a folder and how when you add information to it, it does populate and show up. That population doesn't proactively today notify the owner of that folder that a new item has been added. However, my answer to that question would be we could easily set up an email alert that matches that exact same, oh no, I apologize, because no, it's something that's been added to their folder. So no, today it does not proactively notify them, and we could look at that as an enhancement, but it doesn't do that today. They would have to go in and manually look at it. Very good question. Wait,
I don't see any sorry, no, I don't see any other questions coming in via the chat box or the Q&A box. So I'll leave it to you, Chappy.
Well, no worries. Again, for us, this is a process and a partnership that we're always available to answer questions or to assist in any way. So at this point, I'll go ahead and conclude this particular WebEx on uncovering actionable information for your business, and we look forward to answering any other questions that you have in the future. Take care.